One person who was always anti-Diddy and was always speaking about Diddy as a problematic person was 50 Cent. And it turns out that it's just been announced that he's created a docu-series on Netflix. I can't wait to see this. The other end of that, every person who has tried to speak out about this, who has tried to speak out about the industry, the type of people that are controlling the industry, the attacks that people face from the media if they try to speak out, is always the same. They're called crazy.
I'd heard that you were really arrogant and really full of yourself and really like out of control.
No, that's not what it is. I fight for what I think is the best at the time. The year before the Grammys, 50 Cent didn't win any Grammys. I went on TV the next day and I said, you all robbed 50 Cent of his Grammy. He was the most important thing. He was the soundtrack to our life in 2003. Now, when it was my turn, I was just being an advocate for what was the best out there, which just so happened to be me.
The platform that you're on, it says the first thing they say to you when you go to media training is stay away from politics and stay away from religion. You see what it did to Kanye? Politics and religion.
Back at it again. And this time he attacked Kanye and Bianca for being Diddy's freak-off partners. He even went so far as to call Bianca Kanye's dirty little wife child. He dragged them so hard that they ended up checking themselves into a mental health facility in Spain, where they are reportedly paying up to $170,000 per week to get some help. 50 has stated that he doesn't get along with anyone who supports Diddy, including Kanye, who's been openly supporting Diddy and even called for his release because, in his words, the high-ups are setting him up. At first, people believed that Kanye was just saying this to gain influence, but some people came forward and said that Kanye was just like Diddy. They even freaked off with him. This whole mess began when Kanye and Bianca showed up at Diddy's trial after months of Kanye defending Diddy. In fact, they weren't even permitted entry because he didn't wait for the required approval to be there, but that was swiftly sorted out, and the very next day he was in there, but this time Bianca wasn't there. Kanye was wearing an all-white outfit, which some say was a reference to the all-white freak-off parties that Diddy used to have. However, even though he claimed that Diddy wasn't guilty, he didn't stay in that courtroom for more than 30 minutes. In fact, just before he entered, one of the reporters asked him if he was there to support the diddler, and he replied that he was. But once he was inside and heard the specifics of what Dylan did in person, it became too much for him. And he fled. We are wearing white in honor of the freak-offs. Damn that, you should have brought your dirty little wife with that Grammys outfit. 50 Cent captioned a photo of himself wearing an all-white suit and several slides of Kanye's outfit to the trial. Just as quickly as he arrived in the room, 50 Cent noticed all of this foolishness and, as usual, didn't hold back from trolling Kanye and dragging him for his strange behavior. He dragged Bianca along with Kanye. As an aside, this isn't the first time he's come for Kanye. They've been at odds since 2007, and it's obvious that 50 still despises him to the same extent. In fact, just recently, when Kanye disclosed that he used to spend his free time sucking off his cousin's wood, 50 jumped in and accused him of being gay, saying that there was no way he was doing all that sucking for that long and didn't end up developing any attraction to men. Kanye's tweet read, "This song is called Cousin, about my cousin that's locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told in my self-centered mess. I might have felt responsible for showing him those filthy magazines when he was 6 years old. Then we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is that, and I sucked my cousin's D until I was 14. This was a very serious issue, but as I mentioned earlier, 50 didn't take it seriously at all and trolled Kanye. For example, in the post he made about Kanye appearing in court, he posted an AI photo of himself. Headline, I woke up this morning thinking you can't suck your cousins for 6 years and not be gay. Somebody has to tell Kanye. I'm not going to tell him. Nope, it's not my job. Others didn't feel sorry for Kanye at all and even told 50 to keep going because Kanye didn't have any sympathy for Dixie's victims. A few days ago, he made a series of tweets pleading for Dixie to be released, saying, "Free Puff Donald Trump, please." Some people weren't here for 50, turning this into another chance to troll Kanye. My brother, Puff, please release him. I just learned that Puff is not permitted to make or collect money while he is incarcerated. So I'm going to send half of the money to Justin for clarity. These white people are attempting to make an example out of Puff, but my brother and I had our problems. And Kanye even went so far as to raise thousands of dollars for him through his clothing line, and when he tried to send it to him, he was told that he couldn't receive any donations. Puff is a warning, I'm not brave or afraid. This is just me. People began looking more closely into his friendship with Dylan because he was acting too harshly toward him. At this point, it appeared that he was involved as well and was worried that if Dylan was caught, he would also be exposed. At first, it wasn't clear whether Kanye had actually done anything with Dylan, but it didn't take long for people to find receipts that demonstrated that he was involved in those freak-offs. His ex was the first Kanye victim to come out. Assistant Lauren Pesciota accused both him and Diddy of group sending her in a studio a few years ago. She claimed that she was invited to their studio to watch them record, but that when she arrived, they tampered with her drink. And after taking a few tiny sips, she began to feel disoriented and less in control of her body and speech. She claimed that at first she didn't remember the incident clearly, but she knew that someone had touched her inappropriately that night, and she was only waiting for someone or something to confirm her suspicions. This wasn't until weeks later when Kanye jokingly admitted to hooking up with her at the studio, Lauren said she was perplexed because, in her opinion, she had never engaged in any intimate activity with him, at least not voluntarily. That's when it dawned on her that Kanye and Daisy had sex, and Kanye was now attempting to deceive her into believing it was a consensual hookup. However, this was only the beginning of the chaos, because shortly after Lauren's accusations, a model named Jennifer Ann came out to accuse Kanye of essaying her, strangling her, and putting his filthy fingers in her mouth while they were on. Jennifer claims that Kanye was a featured artist on the song for which the music video was being made. But when he arrived on set, he took over the production and he sat her in front of the entire crew. He then ordered all of the female models and background actors, including Jennifer, to line up in the hallway. Jennifer was wearing lingerie and felt extremely uneasy due to Kanye's acting. He then pulled 2 chairs close to the camera, positioned them opposite one another, and told Jennifer to sit in the chair in front of the camera. After that, he smothered her face with both hands, smearing her makeup, and then he rammed several fingers down her throat, repeatedly moving them in and out, and gagged her to simulate a forced oral act. He then towered over her and started strangling her with one hand while wrapping the other around her neck. By the conclusion of this madness, the singer Nikki Heaton also accused Jennifer of having trouble breathing and feeling as though she had momentarily lost consciousness. She also claimed that her face was coated in makeup and spit. Kanye and Diddy accused her of saying it, and Kanye's former assistant Nikki also claimed to have been in the studio with them when the alleged saying occurred. Nikki claimed that after realizing she was the only girl present, they shut her in the studio and ultimately set her into her VIP.
I felt like there was something weird because, there's always drinks, there's always, the vodka and the mixers just like sitting on the table, but we walk in and immediately Diddy hands me a drink, Kanye hands Lauren a drink, and we're like, that's weird. Why are they serving us? And Kanye kept looking at Lauren and like they were exchanging glances, and I'm like, they're like watching me strangely. And I'm like, okay, let me pretend to drink, and like I'm not actually doing it. And like that seemed to like make them happy, like me like pretending to like join in. And immediately I'm like, there's something fucking in this drink. There's something in this drink. And I didn't know what to do. And I like, my manager was like across the room, but like close enough, but like not next to me, so I couldn't like whisper to her. But I wanted to tell her, I'm like, hey, don't fucking drink this. There's something wrong with this. But I couldn't. So I reach for my phone and I start to type, and Kanye takes the phone out of my hands and he's like, who are you texting? Like, you don't need to text anyone. Like, we're having a party. And I was like, okay. And he like puts it on one of the speakers. And I'm like, now what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And I see my manager take a sip. And I'm like, and then I see her take another sip, 2 sips out of this little vodka cranberry cup. And I'm like, oh, I said, I'm in this studio. The music's low, the lights are dim, but you can still like see everything. And I realized that I'm in the studio with Diddy and Kanye, and they're both off their shit. And there's 3 other men, an executive that works with Kanye, his engineer, and his cousin, and me. And I haven't started freaking out yet. I've realized that I'm the only girl in the room. And they start coming towards me and they're like, don't you want to take your clothes off? Like, it's so hot in here. And I'm like, no, fine. I'm fine like this. And they're like, come on, like, it's just us. Like, we're all just friends. Like, let us just, like, see, like, how you look. And as these two grown men were pawing at me, trying to take my clothes off, I look over to this man asking for help, and I literally mouth the word help. And we lock eyes. And he looks away.
However, it doesn't end there, y'all, because recently one of Diddy's victims, Jane Doe, who goes by the anonymous name, was on the stand, and she revealed that she had been having a lot of fun with another rapper named Bear while she and Diddy were on break. Many people think that Bear is actually Rick Ross, and as you are all aware, T.I. Kemp already told us that Rick Ross was at those parties to freak his big back away. In any case, according to Jane Doe, she and Bear attended the party of an unnamed famous rapper and his wife, who many assume are Kanye and Bianca, and they partied all night.
She was on a trip with a different rapper named Bear, and they were in Vegas, and she goes to dinner with this rapper for his wife's birthday, and then afterwards, they go to a hotel, and there's an escort that she recognizes there named Anton, and she's like, oh my God, like, why are you here? Like, I recognize you, because she obviously did freak offs. So this other celebrity had hired this Anton to have sex with a woman. So they go to this hotel room, and there's 7 to 8 people, she said, just staring, watching. So there's this banging this woman, and there's 7 to 8 people watching. And at one point, she even took her top off, she said, because she was in the moment. And the famous rapper went up to her and said, I think you're very beautiful. I always wanted to F you. Now, not many rappers have wives with birthdays in January, so you guys can do the math and you guys can figure out who it is.
Bianca's birthday is actually in January, so take that into consideration. In addition, last year she was in Vegas with Kanye on her birthday. If 1 1 equals 2 and 2 2 equals 4, what do you call this? Oh well, one thing about 50 Cent. He may joke, but he never lies. Kanye is obviously much more involved in this mess with Diddy than we initially believed, which is why he's been going so hard for him. As usual, people had their own opinions. Such as this one, Kanye came to eyeball him because Diddy put in a motion to reveal the name of the famous rapper Freakoff. Birthday party, people keep trying to say he was there for support. He definitely did not go there for that reason. Someone else commented, the reason they didn't name Kanye is because they realize his fame and ability to communicate to the masses, which could sway the entire case, but believe me, when Kanye's fame dies down, they are going to come back to this case and charge him. However, I would like to hear what you think about 50 dragging Kanye and Bianca for filth. Do you think Kanye was present at those freak-offs as well? Please share your ideas in the space provided below, and don't forget to click here to view this additional footage.